Good evening. You are listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, or for tonight's purposes, Robzilla. I am here with Pixelzilla and RDV Zilla, I guess, maybe. We are discussing the Godzilla American remake from 2014, and we're going to talk a little bit about the new movie here. What we like, what we don't like, our fears, our concerns about what's happening with the Godzilla franchise and movies in general today. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we this evening?
Doing good.
You know, with that level of energy, I should just kill you off this stream as quickly as Bryan Cranston got killed off in this movie, because RDV, I think you have a bone to pick with the entire Godzilla franchise for the simple fact that you said, damn it, how can they advertise Bryan Cranston so vigorously and then whack him off, especially with how big he was in Breaking Bad? What say you, sir?
What I say is, me and my friend went and saw this movie. They're hyping this whole entire trailer up. It's all Godzilla, yeah. And mind you, the last time we saw Godzilla was in the Anthony Broderick film back in 1996, 97, whatever. So it's 2014. With all the CG, all the hype up, they give you see like clips like there's Godzilla's foot, there's his tail, and and Bryan Cranston, who's hot off watching Breaking Bad, seeing this. I'm like, yes, Bryan. And I'm like, and then there's this kid from Kick-Ass. I'm like, okay, I guess he's in there. So I'm watching this, and then there's a hot girl here, and so we find out years later, she's Elizabeth Olsen, one of the Olsen twins. I had no idea who the heck she was.
No, not one of the twins. The sister of the twins.
Regardless, and put under a movie, unless you want to get stepped on, like Godzilla steps on people. This movie was so hyped up. It's Godzilla. It's awesome. It's gonna be monsters with battles. 8 minutes of Godzilla. He spent and left. He had a cigarette. I said, sorry, baby, I got to leave. I know, I'm done. Moving on to the next
Bam,
girl.
thank you, man. I am.
Yeah, exactly. Bryan Cranston getting killed off. I'm like, is he the new Samuel L. Jackson? Is this supposed to be funny? Because you hyped it up so much that you're going to have Bryan Cranston. And it would have been a totally different story if you would have had Bryan Cranston and further into this, but instead, we get the sad thing when his father dies. He's a depressed soldier living with his girlfriend, and it's like, who cares a crap? Give me Godzilla. The monsters, when they showed Godzilla for those 8 minutes, dude, I had a little chub. I admit it. Going against those two Mothra monsters, whatever they are, and I'm just and then he's just shoots his plasma beam into the thing's mouth and rips the head off.
It's an electronic load, sir.
It's electronic load. When he gets excited, he throws up in people's mouths. That's what happens. Anyway, so I was at that part. I will not lie. I did enjoy that, but 2 minutes out of those 8 minutes we said Godzilla is just him swimming under boats, the ocean. So that I was more annoyed by that. That I want, because I'm like, you advertise as Godzilla. You had the technology, and this is where we get a preview for what's going to become the Godzilla, King of all monsters. It was just humans for most of this film, and I guess that's what they wanted, because they gotta tell a story. I'm like, I don't care about a story. Give me Rock'em Sock'em. I'm like, it's Godzilla. Let him do his thing. You can have the people going, oh look, it's Godzilla, run! Well, who cares? And then him just fighting monsters. That's all anybody wants. They hype it up like that, and so.
We'll debate that.
I was gonna say, after watching this movie, watching the trailer, and then watching the movie, me and my friend looked like we wasted 2 hours of this just to see 8 minutes of a giant lizard who swam for 2 minutes and then 6 minutes blew his load and then left. It was just horrible.
Well, obviously the fantasy and reality are different, and any adult that's active in the adult world knows that. Pixilla, what say you? What was your initial take on this film?
I'm going the complete opposite route. I enjoyed this film. I enjoyed the initial setup. Bryan Cranston is absolutely a phenomenal actor. It is sad that he got killed off early on, but honestly, he wasn't living a life much worth living. And when it comes down to it, the human story is just to bring us along until Godzilla can come and just demolish the monsters. Did you really want to see a movie 2 hours of Godzilla fighting fighting these beasts, or did you want to see him being the god he is?
Sir, as someone who is trying to say your name is Pixilla and they're really hyped about Godzilla, You're saying you're okay with 8 minutes of Godzilla on screen time, the rest is just being nothing, just boring nonsense.
It wasn't nothing. These
It was because it wasn't Serge. It
absolutely
wasn't Godzilla. That's called Godzilla, and 8 minutes is only Godzilla. That is crap, and that's clickbait, and I want my money back from all this years ago.
So
you can ask
one of
for
the
your
big
money
things
back.
with the debate of this film is this, you know, you both are exemplifying the two main problems that these films have. Because I'll agree with both of you and I'll disagree with you both, and then I'll explain why I'm right and you guys are wrong. Okay. I agree with you, RDV, in that if you're going to hype it up, I hate the hype machine. It pisses me off. It makes me hold something to a higher standard unintentionally. I don't like it. So I agree with you. It was hyped up. The hype obviously comes from people that are old school Godzilla fans and how much everybody hated the Matthew Broderick version, and the fact that an American was getting a chance to launch a Japanese product. How well could they do it, especially in today's age of CGI oversaturated, basically boring comic book movies. And I know you guys are fans of those. I'm not trying to troll you on that, but that's been the dominant force and a very successful financial one in there. So there was a lot of hope going into this movie, hence the hype. Now, that being said, I kind of lean in Pixel's camp in that I preferred the tone and direction of this film that Gareth Edwards, the director, had, and that it was about kind of anticipation and waiting until you saw Godzilla. And the first time you saw him, like you say, you don't see much of him. You see like a little bit of a foot of him, but then when you do see him, it's like, oh my God, it's just on. I firmly am a big believer in, you know, in a situation like this, less is more, because this film, I think, is the best out of all the Godzilla films or the King Kong movies of the past 5, 6, 7 years, even though there's might only been 2 of each, because each one's gotten progressively worse. And one thing I noticed on rewatching this film that also upsets me, if I'm only going to have 6 to 8 minutes of Godzilla actually on screen time, it better be the 6, 8 minutes of time that I'm going to remember. I think this movie came close to that in terms of the spectacle. I thought Godzilla looked like an alpha badass in here. The sense of scale and everything was great. Unfortunately, like a lot of people, when you see it in the theaters, the bulb or however they do it digitally these days, it looks like crap. Well, if you would, on my print, if I adjust the contrast, it looks so much better, but everyone's got their own way of figuring that out. But sitting back and watching, you should be able to enjoy it. And unfortunately, I think the experience left a lot of people wanting in all of these Godzilla films. But for me, if we were going to have 2 hours of Godzilla, I would be concerned that the film would be horrible. I'd want to walk out, not because they can't find 2 hours worth of wham bam thank you man stuff for him to do. It would just get boring. And honestly, the way we've all complained about CGI being the one negative aspect, at least I think so, over these past couple of films, I just think it would be a lot worse because they wouldn't have that same level of quality for 2 hours. So to me, you know, it's you kind of hate it or you love it. You might really love what Godzilla is so much that you want to see more of them. So I agree with you, RDV, but Pixel, I'm like you. I preferred I want almost that sense of doom and dread building up to it. And but I agree with you, RDV. I don't care about any of the human characters. Who cares? I don't. I want to see what's going on with it. They need to just be backstory, and that's why, to me, even though I'll only mention this briefly, Shin Godzilla, the Godzilla movie from 2016, is by far much better than this because you get a lot more Godzilla. He looks really good. It's on a super low budget, but yet it looks fantastic. They really know how to do a Godzilla movie. Gareth Edwards, I thought, did a very adult level job with this film in his tone and style, and I think it works wonders and it's very enjoyable. But unfortunately, like I say, it goes downhill from here. So what did you guys think about this film and then the second Godzilla film?
Well, as for it leading into the second film, absolutely. I think it does build into that tone of dread, and it's not for Godzilla. Godzilla isn't actually the thing that's trying to destroy humanity. It's these two wicked-looking monsters that they have that they just call Mutos. They don't actually get a full-on name.
Monster of unidentified origins or something like that?
Yeah,
Right.
it's massive, unidentified
Terrestrial species.
Yes,
They're
basically.
plant funky looking thingies and they're mating, which is kind of cool because it makes sense. And the nature sort of way on the big
Now,
picture.
Is this Mothra's parents?
No,
I don't know.
no, because they're totally different. These are more bat-like in a way. But there's something worth mentioning. If the human that we followed if we hadn't seen his path to getting there, he saw those little babies in the eggs. He is the one responsible for burning them up. Otherwise, humanity's damn doomed. And Godzilla can't do shit.
Yeah, I think that this movie is like, when you don't have a human story or you don't care about the humans, it's hard to care about a creature that is indifferent to you. It's almost like a libertarian perspective. Yeah, Godzilla's saving the Earth. He's not really saving the Earth. He's just watching out for his own ass, and that's why he's going after these bad dudes, because he understands instinctually on some meta level that, you know, this is a threat to him and his survival. And that's what I find interesting in the animal world, that those, you sometimes, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of situation, and here, you know, almost plays out that way. So I prefer that it's less humans and more Godzilla. But in the second film, I just felt like it was a letdown to me, even though we had more creatures and some interesting scenes. I thought the visuals were a lot worse. I know, RDV, you and I think, had complained a little bit about how difficult it was to almost watch it, even though we got more screen time. What do you think about the first movie compared to the second?
First movie, like I said, 8 minutes. Second movie had more monster action in it, which I appreciated. But like I said, if it's supposed to be a sequel to the first one, it just felt kind of like loosely based. Because unless they're trying to say in the beginning of the second one, that's what happened in the first one. That's not what happened in the first one. You know, unless it's a different story, or I mean, I don't know how they're trying to connect it, even though they're supposed to be like. It just feels like they weren't connected at all, and they just said, like, you know, we're gonna say it's from the same people, and people just said, oh, it's a sequel. If anything, it didn't feel like it. Because especially with the monsters, you know, like, you know, unless that prompt them to go look for other monsters, to search for more stuff. But overall, the second movie though, I felt was a lot better, but it still had its own faults. Like I said, the humans, you know, and like mom versus dad fighting over the child, fighting over Godzilla.
Yeah, not needed.
It's like
unneeded.
No,
it is. You're right.
And I'm worried about this third one, that, you know, Kong versus
Well,
Godzilla.
before we talk about the third one,
because I want to point out, in the first one, Godzilla was the bad guy. In the first one, he was the bad guy, and then he comes in and then he saves it, and then at the end they're like, they're still trying to shoot him. Like, they don't understand. Like, the second one, he's still kind of the bad guy, but then they try to, like, wait, no, Godzilla is a hero. And I'm thinking, like, so it's confusing, because the third one, they're painting Kong as being the hero and Godzilla's the villain. It's just like, make up your mind. Do you want him to be a hero or a villain, or just pull them both up and nuke them? I don't care.
Well,
They
again,
want to see the entire
before we
point of
talk
this
about,
film.
hold on. Before we talk about a third one, because that's the big point we're going to talk about here, I think, for this film getting ready to come out, is I wanted to ask both of you guys, because I think the first movie is so much better than the second movie. Okay, but I wanted to ask both of you, what was your favorite one scene out of either of the two movies before we go on to the third movie? For me, it's I keep thinking, every time I think of this first movie, I think of a couple scenes come to mind immediately, not much in the second movie, but the one scene that always comes back to mind, and I just don't know if it's the way it's filmed, the tempo of it, the music, the way it slows down, it's very artsy, but it works for me. It's the scene where you have, I call it the Halo scene, where the guys are jumping out of the plane and they got the red smoke and they're going through the clouds and all that, and it's raining, and you see Godzilla coming through all the smoke there while they're all like trying to land. For some reason, I just think that scene is so badass. I think it's really artistic, and I think it's a great scene. So I wanted to know if you guys had one favorite scene from either of the two movies before we talk about this third.
Well, I had wished I knew we were going to be talking about the second one in such focus, because otherwise I would have watched it too.
You haven't seen the second one?
I have, but it was.
I watched it last year, but I remember most of it.
It was a long time ago.
How could you not? The little girl is like, you know, and the whole thing, it's just like them fighting over, like, you know, the device that wakens up the animals, and then the animals, we're gonna team up against Godzilla, and Godzilla's like, gets knocked down. Human sacrifices himself. Revives Godzilla. Godzilla goes against monsters. Godzilla kills all monsters, and the ones that are winning bow down to him. shoots flame into an energy load into the sky, and that's it. So it's like, so that's that. Yeah, the second one was
awesome. I don't get this disconnect because that's awesome. The whole thing about him defeating all these monsters, basically the human element is for this.
Yeah, only for them. Only him that destroy all these monsters and save the planet. For this, we got to get Kong to fight Godzilla because Godzilla is a bad guy. What?
So anyway,
well, I know you don't understand what plot is, Pinkman, but
no, I understand what good plot is. Bad plot is just bad.
You don't have to have.
You don't know if it's good or bad yet. You haven't seen the movie.
Plot armor, because that's what every movie needs. Plot armor.
The thing is, like I just put in chat there, Johnny's talking about he's getting a review coming up soon from somebody that's seen it because I think it's just dropped overseas a little bit. We'll be reviewing it as soon as it comes available here. Yeah, to me, when I look at the trailer, there's something about the trailer that scares me, and it's this. And again, we have what we like and don't like or what we expect out of film, and so sometimes we will judge a movie positively or negatively based off of that. To me, I know to not go by trailers too much, although sometimes if something's a good trailer, I can say, oh, it's a good trailer. It may not be representative of the movie. And unfortunately, with RDV, I kind of agree with you on that. When I look at this, I don't know who's supposed to be who. I don't know if I care, because to me, the thing that bothers me before you plot, and frankly, these movies shouldn't have too much plot, should be sit back and watch the spectacle. Let it go. It's like a grudge match in wrestling. You can talk about the year or two's worth of build-up for back in the old school days and all that. I don't care about all that. You can throw me the 2-minute vignette at the beginning of these two movies, where we're at today, and maybe they'll do something like it. Maybe that's great for somebody that hasn't seen all the films and all the Kong films. I don't care, because frankly, I'm a mark for Godzilla. I love Kong. But even in the Kong films, which came after, I think, the first Godzilla film here in 2014, I really like Kong a lot, but I felt like there was something about Kong that was lacking a little bit, and I'm not sure what. I like the fact that he was in his own environment on his own place there too. That was kind of cool. But I hated all the human part to the Kong films. It really disgusted me. I wish it could have been more like Godzilla. So when I see the trailer for this and I see them two fighting, I go, there's just no way in hell Kong has any chance at all at beating Godzilla. But it looks like they're going to nuke up Kong a bit here. They're going to say, oh, all of a sudden he's smart because he's an ape, and now he gets to use weapons because he has opposable thumbs and all that, like we saw. And I think this is totally the wrong direction for it. For me, the way it should go is this. You should have Godzilla and Kong kind of getting like a little bit of a dust up there. Kong kind of goes over a little bit, okay? Just, wow, we weren't expecting that. Then these bad dudes come in, different Mudos, and basically lay waste to both of them. And then you can see Godzilla fighting his own battle, Kong fighting his own. Then you could see all the heels going strong, all the bad ones, and all the whatever the name of the creature is going to be, Mecha Godzilla or whatever in this case, I think, just do plunder. And then you see, unfortunately, where due to the defeat that Godzilla and Kong have against these Mutas, they kind of retreat and they somehow end up on Kong's island, where Kong and Godzilla kind of do that thing like, their enemy, my enemy is my friend. They're kind of back up to each other, touch each other, they turn around, and then they realize they're a tag team, and then they start to fight all the Mutas. They still get their ass beat, but then some of the creatures on an island that Kong oversees kind of helps them all out. They drive everybody away, and then it's like a grudge match. Godzilla kind of grudgingly leaves the island, but they fight it on Kong's home turf. I think that's an awesome story. I've been saying that since day one. But when I see all the skyscrapers and all the stupid nighttime dark screen shots, I think this movie's going to be a bust. What say you?
Well, I want to go back and talk about my favorite parts from the first two movies, since we skipped over that. For the first movie, I didn't like it when he went towards the end when Godzilla was actually fighting against the monsters. There was one scene that made me laugh though. Is when Godzilla, after he's done, he lays down, he's kind of sleeping there, and then he opens his eye and he looks at the kid. I'm thinking like this remind me of for whatever reason the Neverending Story, where the dragon's right there and he just kind of smiles at him and kind of walks. So,
yeah.
The second movie, my favorite part, I gotta say it probably was towards the end, probably. Again, the fighting scenes, because I didn't care for the human parts. The human element is kind of like drama. Godzilla steps on you, it's done. it's all you have to do. And I understand, Pixel, you want to have an extra story built up, but you could have a story. You could have, say that Godzilla's from an ancient world. He's an alien that was transported by a pod, and he's there. He's become the protector of the Earth, and now other aliens are there trying to take over. You could just call it Dragon Ball Zilla. No?
My God.
Because right now we got
a mockery of something that was epic. It was epic.
Because right now we're gonna have Godzilla and Kong, who are mortal enemies, teaming up to go against other enemies. That sounds like Dragon Ball Z, doesn't that?
No, because I don't know. I don't watch Dragon Ball Z because I like watching things that are actually interesting.
Wow! So now he just dissed the whole entire Dragon Ball Z anime, which is very popular, more popular, I'd say, than Godzilla is.
Oh, stop it!
Oh
yeah, you got it.
Stop it! Stop it!
Go look into this. Go look into it and see how much more merchandise there is for that.
Oh, we're gonna base popularity off of merch. Okay.
TV shows, all that stuff. Yes, it is hyped.
How many generations does Godzilla have behind it?
Well, people keep forgetting about Godzilla until he comes out with a movie.
I disagree.
See,
because he's only on screen for 8 minutes and then he's gone.
my favorite scene in the first movie is during the fight. It's the flying one. It's going around. It gets away from Godzilla, goes for a swoop attack, and Godzilla's watching and just whacks it with its tail against a building. And it just squashes it like a bug. It's awesome.
I will be upset if Godzilla does not do that running jump where he flies through the air, feet first, and knocks someone over. That is the best movie he's ever done, and he's only done it once. I want to see him do it again in this movie.
In the second one, it's really how I just enjoy Mothra's sacrifice to give her energy to Godzilla. It's just visually stunning.
Cool. I agree. Yeah.
But that's the thing about the second movie, and it absolutely is a sequel. It doesn't have the same human characters. I don't understand why you want to continue the story of the first human characters, Venkman. But
I don't. I want all the humans gone.
You can't have all the humans gone because then
you
there's no point.
No, there's no point. She's saying Godzilla can't stand on his own merit. He needs little humans to prop him up.
I'm saying
yes, they're saying
I'm saying that having the human element helps tell the story in a different perspective.
Yeah, we need that
monsters on buildings.
Yes, we need that old Asian guy to give the 15-minute speech about where Godzilla comes from, and he's a good fighter for peace. Blah blah blah. Don't care. Fight. That's all I want. That's nice. I mean,
well,
it's like
most movies today, RDV, you're not going to get it. You're going to get a certain level of maybe wokeness, I think, or something, because again, the original Godzilla was all based off the horrors of atomic warfare, and that's the whole seed of where it created from. And even though that's been loosely kind of continued, there's been discussions about presenting how bad humans are in certain lights, and as a result, you're being punished by these. And I don't want that either. So no, I don't really want story. So I agree with you. I'd like a lot of fighting, but the human stuff, I mean,
humans are mortals. We've been ruining this planet. Now he's woken to save this planet because we're bad against the environment. That's pretty much Godzilla.
No, my gosh. The whole thing is
did you watch the last one?
Yes. I did watch the original one.
It talks about how they worship him.
Did get a little preachy there, Pixilla. I got to say that.
Well, are you talking about the first movie?
No,
just in general.
Talk about King of Monsters.
The nuclear warfare woke Godzilla from a deep slumber.
They were trying to kill him
in the sea. Yes, they were, and it didn't work. And the whole thing is, he only woke up. They studied it just in case they ever had to worry about him. They haven't had to worry about him. So in other words, mankind woke him up because they are dicks. They were ruining the environment. They woke him up.
Pixel, that is a lot of the underlying themes here, and we've talked about how a lot of science fiction films have to do with depopulation, the Malthusian type of economics, which is kind of socialist in nature going back, and that's where a lot of things in the 60s and 70s digressed. Over on the Too Extreme horror show, we don't really get too many of those themes because they stay somewhat classical, but when we talk about our science fiction show that we don't really have a name for, we've covered some of those kinds of things, and that is definitely a theme. And even in our Kolchak series, like I had mentioned, with the one that's getting ready to drop here, the Energy Eaters, season 1, episode 10, the whole idea here is that, you know, there's this whole transhumanism type of angle that Kolchak seemed like at the beginning when he was talking about this hospital that was presenting was going to come into play. They kind of abandoned it for, you know, spirit animal bear stuff that you can't see and kind of dopey. I think the Godzilla movies are trending towards that way. How can we use Godzilla and Kong as a tool to be woke and say humans are the bad guy and say Mother Nature's always around? And that's, you know, back in the 80s, this is very prevalent with Captain Planet and a few other things too, where the environmental angle was starting to get pushed into kids and cartoons, and it became a lot more mainstream in the 90s and now in 2000s, where everything is completely woke. Everything has all the PC checkboxes that have to be met by most people for everything. And that's the part that scares me about this, because let's be honest, my final question to you guys is going to be, hey, let's all go around the table and let's say Godzilla versus Kong, heads up, who should win? Okay, I think it should be Godzilla, but when I look at this, they're giving Godzilla all this stuff because it's probably that whole equity thing. It's not fair from the onset that Kong has to be smaller and this and that. So, what can we do to make it equitable? Well, let's make him taller, bigger, denser, stronger, faster. You know, more intelligent, this and that, versus this primal beast of Godzilla. And that's just the way it looks. It's like, I don't know, man. I wanted to just be kind of monsters fighting with maybe one or two humans, just to carry it along like you're saying. So it's kind of like a blend of what you guys are saying, but I am scared for this movie. So let's go around the horn. Let's talk about who should win and why, and what we think of this last film. Is it going to be good or not?
I'll let Pixel go first.
No, I think you should go first.
No, sir. After you. You're the youngest. Youngest goes first. Ladies first.
As for who should win based off the power level, the only Kong film that's connected to this is the one Skull Island that came out. Samuel L. Jackson, Tom Hiddleston.
It's good to be the king. Yeah.
I mean, just due to energy, it's Godzilla. He has so many.
Godzilla's the man.
Yeah, he has a.
He's the man. Huh? He's got the belt.
Well,
he gets to pick the stipulation of the matches.
Yes, he does have the belt. So the whole thing is, though, he has just energy. In this movie, I really enjoy how they show that the other monsters also have their touch of energy, like the Mutos that we see in this movie are. Whenever they're basically the ends of their wings touch the ground and they use it to crawl like a bat.
Right.
It works as an EMP. It just knocks out all of the energy, electricity in the area. But Godzilla's got that too. In his energy blast, it just charges up and he shoots it. That should give Kong a hole in his shoulder right there.
Okay, RDV, who should win? And is this last movie going to scare you?
Well, who should win is Godzilla. Godzilla is the main franchise. It'd be dumb to have him lose in his own movie.
That's one way of looking at it. Without him, we probably wouldn't have had the Kong reboot.
No,
I didn't think of it like that, but that's pretty obvious, yeah.
But as far as am I scared for this movie? Like I said, it's in the chat. This movie probably will make more money than the King of All Monsters, only because they're hyping up Kong versus Godzilla. But when people actually go to see it, just like the first one, 2014, they're probably gonna be let down because it's not what they were sold on. And that's what I hate about all movies. You see the trailer, you see that, and sometimes the scene you like in the trailer isn't even in the movie at all.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, well, as we close up here, let me just close on this. obviously, we're going to see the movie and review it as soon as we can. I was excited for the first Godzilla movie. I enjoyed it. So maybe my expectations were artificially raised for all the other films that came off, because I wanted to like the second Godzilla film. I didn't hate it, but I hated certain things about it because I felt like it interfered in my ability to enjoy it as much as I could have. And it's a different director, and it's just a different type of film to me. The Kong films I thought were okay. They were watchable a little bit, but too much human nonsense and too much goofy human nonsense. Whereas, the original Godzilla had kind of more, I'm not going to say dark, but more of an adult tone to it. I felt like the Kongs were a bit childish, and I wish they would have went for more of an adult tone to it. They're massive monsters. We should look at them and appreciate how awesome they are in terms of their scope, their size, and everything else there too. Not have some of our brain power kind of bringing them down by laughing at somebody's stupid, dumb joke or some dumb slapstick comic, womp, womp, womp effect. I just, the Kong movies failed for me for that.
I looked it on Google to see when it's supposed to release. It apparently came out in the United States, March 25th. A couple days ago, it was released. I'm seeing the reviews, quick reviews. One guy says it's mostly delivers on its promise of a big monster fighting another big monster. It just depends on if you're willing to sit through the toe-curling bad setup that surrounds it. Another person says it delivers on its promise as a master monster clash, and adrenaline-driven movie lovers will be visually rewarded for catching the spectacle in cinemas.
Blah, 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 blah.
I know.
Those paid chills.
I know. Yeah. Well, actually, one was actually crapping on the movie. That's why I was surprised. Like, it's just the honest opinion.
Okay, but here's the thing. We all know, and we've discussed here, excuse me, on the Extreme Movie Show when we talk about movie news, two really important factors. One, we know that despite all the press that people get and how they're paid to give glowing reviews, we know that when fans go and they don't like something and they dump on it, whether it's on Rotten Tomatoes or other things too, we know that those things get removed. So we know that we cannot trust any review that's out there, no matter how legitimate we think the site is. Unless, of course, you're the Extreme Money Show, because we're not monetized. And basically, that's why we're extreme, because we tell it like it is. The other second thing to it, too, and it's unfortunate that we have to kind of talk about this is a little bit, is that when you're talking about a movie like this, we have to talk about the situation we're in with COVID. And no matter what your thoughts are in politics, which we're staying out of, the bottom line is, as we mentioned before, how at&t is doing something different, where they're dropping something in theaters, but also streaming in the same month. So this month it's Godzilla. Next month it's Mortal Kombat, which we're going to be covering as well. And so they're going to have two income streams there, but they're not going to have the full potential of a full audience that they would have. Now, this one's a little bit less budget than the other films, so there's a chance to make money. But I think it's going to have to make, $250 plus for that to happen. But if this one doesn't do good, I don't know that we're going to see anymore, and I'm disappointed, because I'd still much rather watch a poor monster movie than, a CGI comic book movie. But that's just my preferences.
I gotta admit, though, sometimes the straight-to-DVD rip-off budgets are better than the actual film.
Some can be. Yeah, I don't disagree. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
As campy as they are, sometimes you get a better movie. Because they know what the people want. But let's see if this is a giant cash grab of a movie, or
they all are. Let's not act like they're pieces of art.
I can't judge it because I haven't seen it yet, but from the trailers, I'm just not impressed, because it just seems like you're making Godzilla to be the bad guy in his own movie, or you're gonna force him to team up. We're gonna get the two cops hate each other, forced to team up to take on a drug lord. Okay, I've seen this before.
All right, Pixel, your final thoughts?
I'm hyped up. I've enjoyed every movie connected to this universe thus far. Even Kong Skull Island, which is the only Kong movie that's connected to it. I've enjoyed every film that I've seen. So I don't know. In fact, the weakest of them, I do feel like, was actually Kong Skull Island, and even then, it had things to enjoy. I'm looking forward to Godzilla versus Kong, and I hope that sadly, I think that the name spoils who's probably going to win. Because there is a monkey there that has to be dubbed the king. But
one of these not the king. One of you just gets beat down.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see, and I am looking forward to seeing
Here
it.
now. And so you heard what we're saying, what our opinions are. So Pixel, you're going with the monkey. You think the monkey's gonna win?
No. I mean, if I'm on a team, I'm on Godzilla's side.
Like I said, my money is on that. It's gonna be like you're gonna have them teaming up going against the villains. So we really can get a real battle. It'll be like a truce.
What was that old expression? If Godzilla doesn't win, we riot.
Yes.
That's what's going to happen. Well, Johnny, thanks for showing up there too. I understand you hadn't seen Shin Godzilla. Check it out. Great looking film. It's awesome. It's better than all of these, in my opinion. I think you'll like it a lot, especially if you're a Godzilla fan. I encourage anybody listening to check out Shin, and from 2016, it's Japanese version. You get a lot more screen time of Godzilla, and it's a play on how ineffective the Japanese style of government is. It's just if Americans can learn how to make a Godzilla movie like the way the Japanese do, oh my goodness, would it be something? You could almost have a weekly series on it. It'd be fantastic. Yeah, great stuff here, guys. Godzilla 2014, Godzilla versus Kong. Really looking forward to arguing and bitching about this once we finally see the damn thing, or maybe next weekend we'll be able to do that. So for RDV, for Pixilla, myself, everybody here at the Extreme Movie Show, thanks for listening, guys. As always, have a good night. Stay extreme.
Go Godzilla.
Don't forget Godzuki.